What's going on, guys? My name is Chris Howell. In today's video, we're gonna explore how to make an easy cinematic hyperlapse, or at least how I do it. Now, Lizzie and I are in Northern Ireland right now, and as we were driving through one of these beautiful towns, we saw this church, and I was like, that would be a perfect spot for a hyperlapse. And as I was shooting, I was like, I would love to teach you guys. So today, we're gonna quickly explore camera settings, how to pick the proper location so that your shots look super cinematic, and you can start adding those to your video. So the reason why I chose this location to do a hyperlapse instead of a normal video is because as we look, we have this super clean frame right here. We have all these trees, so as the camera's moving very quickly through it, we're gonna have a lot of movement on both sides. Additionally, it's a bit of a cloudy day with a mix of sun, so as we're pushing through this hyperlapse or time lapse or moving time lapse, you're gonna get a lot of different light changes. It's gonna look very dramatic. You're gonna have clouds moving, so you're gonna really have the impact of like a cinematic hyperlapse. So why don't we bust out our camera right now? Now for this hyperlapse, I'm gonna be using the A7R III with a 16 to 35 G master lens. The reason why I like using this camera for time lapses is because it's 42 megapixels, which basically means that this is gonna be an 8K time lapse, which ultimately means that I can use this time lapse forever, even charge money if I want to sell it for stock in the future. So for camera settings, right now we wanna go into manual mode. So we switch that over to manual mode. You'll wanna go into your settings and switch over to single frame for the drive mode. You don't wanna keep bursting off shots like, no, you just wanna take one photo at a time, and you wanna be strategic about that. You wanna pick the proper white balance for the situation. Don't use auto white balance because it might change, especially with lighting conditions like this. So for this, we just picked cloudy because it's mostly cloudy today. Then from there, we pick our focus. Now what we're gonna do, and what I like to do, is that I'll get the exposure. Let's say it's 1/1250 with F, let's make it like F4. That exposure looks about right. And once we have that set, we're gonna quickly turn on our focus, and once we have the focus set, we're gonna turn off the focus. So either you can switch it to manual focus, or you can actually just switch it off in the camera settings. I like to just switch it off on the lens here. Now you're gonna wanna bring up some grid so that you can lock onto a point while you're shooting this hyperlapse. What I like to use is the diagonal plus square grid. It gives me a lot more flexibility in terms of locking onto a point. For this situation right here, I'm gonna lock onto the top of this point. So I'll find a point in the grid. So let's bring it up. And let's say I'm at 16, I'm gonna lock the middle point right on the middle of that little tiny window right there. I'm gonna hold that spot every time I take a photo. The last setup is that you wanna be shooting in RAW so that you can really get the high dynamic range out of this hyperlapse. And that's basically the camera settings. Now let me show you how I actually take this. So what we'll do is, now that we've locked on with our grid, we found our point, frame up, hold it up. You're gonna be kind of in this position for the next like 5 minutes or so. You go up, you take a photo, take one step. Now you always wanna make sure that you're kind of doing the same kind of length of steps. So I always know that I wanna do like a boom. And I'm always gonna wanna stay consistent with that. I don't wanna do like this. If I do a little step like this, every step has to be a little step like that. So pick the distance that you want. If you want it to be faster, do a slightly bigger step. If you want it to be a bit of a slower time lapse, have a bit more length in it, then do a half step. In this situation, we're gonna do a full step. So here is a quick 10 step of shooting this hyperlapse. And repeat that until your hyperlapse is done. Now in this situation, you notice that there were some people in the background. As you're shooting, either decide that you don't want the people and wait for them to move. What I like to do is I like to have even more movement in the shot. So I have the clouds moving, maybe I have some dogs running, and I continue going through the entire time so that it almost looks like very chaotic and super cinematic. Now we have people moving, the trees are blasting by, the clouds are moving, and it ends up being a really cinematic hyperlapse. Here is the final result that you guys saw at the beginning of this video. Now that we have our raw images, we're gonna import this into Lightroom so that we can edit the photo. And now, once we have a good edit on a single photo, we're gonna apply that to all the photos in Lightroom so that they have the same look and feel to them. So just click, highlight them all, now paste amongst all the photos. Now all your images look consistent and have the same look so that it looks like a video clip when we import that into Premiere. Now that all your photos look consistent, we're gonna export all those images. Now you're gonna go to File, Export, and you're gonna wanna make sure that you have an image sequence. What I like to do is have like 1 out of 69 photos. Let's say that's the sequence that we have there. We're gonna export those, so make sure that it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that when we import this into Premiere, it can actually read it and import it as almost a movie clip or an image sequence. Now let's open up Premiere, go to File, go go to import, find the folder that you exported all these images to. Now click on the first one, and there's like a little hidden menu. If you are on Apple, go to option and click image sequence, and now press import. And now you guys have a little clip. Let's drag that right onto the timeline, and boom, there's your hyperlapse. You wanna make sure that it's extra smooth. Go over to your effects window and find the warp stabilizer, and then play around with the settings to make sure that it looks amazing. And that's essentially how you make a cinematic hyperlapse. If you guys like this video, please press like and subscribe and hit the bell to be notified for future videos. And we're gonna keep roaming around Northern Ireland and find some more spots to shoot hyperlapses. Thanks guys for watching. Peace out.